been for them.
I've never felt more aligned with the team. No, that was. Hey, look, I will say that was the talk in the offseason was when Brian Gregory got hired, and he talked about somebody had a counter. It was like 22 times or something. He said aligned and alignment in the press conference. And then Matt Ishbia talks about, in the offseason about this is going to be a gritty basketball team, and they're going to hustle, and this is a team you're going to be proud of. And I think Suns fans you had thoughts of, well, Frank Vogel said this team was going to play defense, and they didn't. And then Mike Budenholzer said they were going to shoot 100 threes a game, and they didn't. So I think Suns fans were probably a little hesitant to fully buy into this.
They've been scarred.
Exactly.
I don't blame
And you looked at the roster construction throughout the offseason, and you trade for Mark Williams, but then you draft Kaman Malwatch, and you're like, okay, now there's like 5 centers on the roster, and the league really doesn't use bigs anymore. And now they don't really have a point guard, but they do have Colin Gillespie. And the second they tipped the ball off in the first game, they got down big against Sacramento, but they made that huge comeback and won that opening game. Had a little wobble afterward, but then they've got on the stretch where they've won 7 of their last 8 now, and you think, oh my gosh, everything they told us, they were telling the truth. This team plays defense. They out-hustle their opponent. They win the possession battle almost every night. They get 10 to 12 more offensive possessions than their opponent almost every night. Everything that was promised has been delivered so far, and including maybe in surprising fashion, the wins as well. The wins have been there.
Well, they're 9-6. Like you mentioned, they've won 8 of the last 10. They just beat Portland easily, 127 to 110.
A game that ended at 5 in the morning.
Yeah, exactly. We have the truth. I just watched because I had to stay here late. But it wasn't even that close. It was 127 to 110, but they were blowing them out. And they let guys like Kaman Malwatch play. Mark Williams, boy, I remember they were really high on him when they got him, and I'm like, yeah, but the guy hasn't played more than 45 games in a year. But man, if he can stay healthy, if they can manage his minutes and manage his games. They took him out of the back-to-back games. They left him out, which is good. And I think with later in the year, Kaman Malwatch will start playing a little bit more, which I'm anxious to see. But boy, he's been a pleasant surprise, Mark Williams. Yeah,
and the team talked in the offseason about how they were kind of, Mark Williams was still dealing with some lingering injuries, and they were kind of building him back up and doing some different things in terms of kind of, stretching and weight training and things like that to kind of build up muscles for Mark Williams. We've known he has the talent. Right. The Lakers tried to trade for him they did trade for him at the deadline last year, and then there was some medical flag or something, and then the deal fell through. But Mark Williams has looked every bit of a top, tier center in the league, and that just adds to the depth of this squad. Right. And we haven't even talked about Dillon Brooks, who Devin Booker is always going to be the MVP of this team, is kind of de facto right now.
Right.
But Dillon Brooks, through the first month of the season, he has been the MVP of this team. This guy, we knew what he was in terms of being a pest on the floor.
I know.
Back-to-back 30-point games for the first time in his career. I was at the game, covering the game on Sunday, and at the end of the third quarter, before they had the fourth quarter collapse, at the end of the third quarter, Dillon Brooks is going up along the sideline, high-fiving fans, taking selfies. I'm like, this is the people's champ. Yeah, it's insane.
When they got him, I said, you need him on that wall. You want him on that wall, right? He's the kind of guy that, you like when he's on your team, but you hate when he's on the other team. We got people in the chat.
Yeah.
Phillips, she's your biggest fan, Robbie. Brandy.
both of us.
She says, hi, Robbie. And
hello.
She says she's going to hang on with us for all, but she's got a new puppy. And you know how that goes, right? When you got a new puppy, you gotta watch.
Rainstorms, thunder, it gets scared. That's what Brandy says there. Doesn't like the storms.
That's a good point. I forgot about that. But Dillon Brooks is a big dog, right? He's a puppy, that's for sure, right?
Capital D dog.
But speaking of young pups, Colin Gillespie,
man,
he kind of burst onto the scene last year. He got his chance, and he's really taken advantage of the opportunity. He had 19.6 assists the other night, and that's the thing is the bench, when they come in, it's almost like a little bit of an uptick just because the energy level, these guys are so hungry. And it's cool, like you were saying, Dillon Brooks high-fiving guys. These guys really seem to get along and like each other.
Oh, my gosh. It's watching. I heard, I can't take credit for this analogy. I was listening to the radio driving in today, and I agreed with what they said. Watching Suns basketball the last couple years at times, despite all the talent on the floor, it felt like our job. We had to watch the games because we had to be there, and it wasn't necessarily fun, but it's like, well, maybe Kevin Durant will do something fun. I don't know. This has been a return to just fun Suns basketball. And you can feel it in the energy of the crowd, just the way that they play. It's just a fun brand of basketball to watch. And you mentioned Colin Gillespie. I remember before the season tipped off, everybody had the chance to talk with the owner, Matt Ishbia, and you asked him basically, is Colin Gillespie, he is what you want this organization to be, right? And Ishbia said, he's a guy that he got his opportunity. He's gritty, and the fact that he's getting minutes and he's still producing has been great to see. And we've seen, again, you mentioned, Suns fans have been kind of burned the last couple of years. How much of a difference a coach makes? Because we thought it was Vogel. We thought it was going to be Budenholzer. Jordan Ott has come in, and our guy Flex from Jersey told us when he got hired, hey, Jordan Ott, he's a dog. He's going to be in the film room. He's going to be crunching. He's going to have different game plans for every situation. And his ability to call timeouts and stop other teams' runs.
When they come out of timeouts, the play that they run, too, that's a sign
effective.
of a good coach.
And his ability, rotations, he has a good sense. Like last night, Colin Gillespie, Jordan Good, when they started the fourth quarter of that game, and it was the bench still in. He didn't put Devin Booker and those guys in because he's like, hey, these guys are hot. They got the lead up to like 25 or 26 points, and then he's like, well, at this point, let's let Bashir Fleming and Kamal Malwatch get in. Devin Booker, you could take a seat for a while. He seems like he's got the finger on the pulse of this team.
He really does, and you talked about him coming up from the film room. And it's funny how those guys end up being good coaches. Speaking of film, you look at the Cardinals, Jacoby Brissett's putting some good stuff on film. It's not translating to wins, but boy, he's really played well and given this Cardinals offense an uptick at the quarterback position, believe it or not.
It's wild. I was Sunday afternoon. I kind of double dutied on Sunday. I was at the Charles Schwab Cup Championship before going over to the Suns game. So I was following the Cardinals game on my phone.
Robby Baker, the hardest working man in show business right here.
Well, not that. I had to go watch golf for an afternoon, so it wasn't like it was terrible. But following the game on my there you go. But following the Cardinals game on my phone, in the stats, if I just looked at the box score, like, wow, 400-some yards passing. Michael Wilson has 200 yards receiving, however many touchdowns, 47 record completions, 47 completions for Jacoby Brissett. Incredible. Then I scrolled to the score, and I was like, what the heck happened?
I know. They outgained them by over 200 yards.
200 yards, and they lost by 3 touchdowns.
G Sports says hello. We got Double G in the chat room now. Who's that? Juan is in there. Yeah, so we got several people in the chat. We appreciate you guys. Yeah, we're talking Cardinals football. We started talking Suns. Okay, Robby, look, something's got to give, right? The people are calling for people's heads, especially the fans. Let's say you're Jonathan Gannon, and they say, okay, you can stay, but somebody's got to go. Is it Nick Rallis or is it Drew Petzing?
It's so hard because the beginning of the year, the defense looked great, right?
I
mean, the defense
so much in the defense.
Yeah, and the defense really kind of kept them in games when Kyler Murray and the offense were struggling. But you also can't deny the fact that the last 2 games they've given up almost 90 points in the last 2 games and losses. So but to be fair, some of those were strip sacks. They start the game on the 1-yard line because of the special teams blunder last week. So it's not like, the defense fell off a cliff. They've also got injuries. The offense is just, it never clicked with Kyler Murray. With Jacoby Brissett, we just talked about the stats. So I don't know if it's the offense because they also can't run the ball effectively because they're down to basically you and I at running back at this point. Yeah. The hardest thing is just I don't know what this organization sells to the fans moving forward in general going into next year because all of the buildup was for this year.
Right.
You go through
trending in the right direction.
You go through the heartache of the rebuild and the lean years and the draft picks and the capital for this. Yep. And this has been the worst year, arguably, of the 3 years. So,
but there was like you mentioned the injuries. When they lost James Conner, I knew it was going to be tough because he was kind of the heart and soul of not only that offense but the team.
And it stinks in a sense for Kyler Murray that if anything is going to change, it definitely feels like that is going to be the biggest change is Kyler moving on from Kyler Murray, it would appear, and whether it's the bridge of Jacoby, you draft, whatever they do beyond that.
Right.
But that may be the biggest selling point to the fans is, I don't want to say throwing Kyler under the bus, but it's kind of like, hey, this is the change we made.
Yep.
And then if it doesn't work, or it doesn't drastically improve, the hardest thing is the division. It's not getting any easier. The Rams are still the Rams. The 49ers have arguably been more banged up than the Cardinals all year, and they're still in a playoff spot right now. Sam Darnold, probably still not that guy. But the Seahawks as a team, they're still very talented top to bottom. So that's just where the Cardinals are in such a tough spot right now. Because even if they make changes around the fringes or if they do wholesale, we're going to rebuild it again, you're still in arguably the toughest division in football.
Yeah.
It's like being the Browns in the old AFC North days.
It's crazy because you wonder, okay, let's say Kyler Murray goes somewhere. Does he go and become successful? Look at what happened with Sam Darnold.
Yeah.
Look what happened to Baker Mayfield.
Takes a second or third team.
Sometimes a change of venue is what these guys need, and it would be interesting to see what happens with, look at Jacoby Brissett.
Yeah.
It's finally clicked for him, and he's played well. So it's funny because, the Cardinals and the Sun Devils have had similar issues, right? They got their backup quarterbacks playing right now. They've had a tough schedule, but they've all been in close games except for the last two for the Cardinals. But the Sun Devils continue to win these close games. It's amazing to think that they are 7-3 and still have a chance to win the Big 12 title. We're about to take a break, but when we come back, we want to talk Sun Devil football. But boy, it's going to be interesting to see what happens with the Cardinals. Because when you look at the schedule, I don't know how many more games. This Jacksonville team, they might have a chance to beat, but
this may be the last,
like you mentioned, they got the Rams
winnable game.
Yeah.
And the one thing I think it's always worth noting, you always bring up with Kyler Murray too, in terms of if they move on and if he has success somewhere else. Kyler's never been in a situation where really his offensive coordinator or head coach have had more experience or more NFL time served than Kyler, because it came in with Cliff first year,
Rookie.
Petzig's first time.
Yep.
Gannon's first time. So Kyler has kind of been the veteran voice in the room his whole career, even though he hasn't really had the time served and experience in the NFL. So to that point, it really could maybe behoove him to go somewhere with an established coaching staff.
Yeah, more football coming up right after the break. All right, we are back, and we're still talking local sports. We talked about the Suns, we talked about the Cardinals. We got Robby Baker in the house. Let's talk about the Arizona State Sun Devils.
There was lightning behind us just now. Sorry.
Was there?
Yeah, I just saw it over there. It was exciting.
I thought you were the one that caused it when you went.
Yeah, I know. Well, it was serendipitous timing.
Yeah. I was just hoping it would happen again. We still got people in the chat. Brandy's still there. Thanks for hanging in there. She said I'd be very interested in hearing what Larry Fitzgerald would change and how he'd coach. Right? Yeah.
Bring Fitz back.
Yeah, it's funny because some of those guys make good coaches, but some of them don't because they expect everybody to work as hard as they do.
I don't think anyone's working as hard as Fitz anymore.
So it would be. I think it'd be a good GM. He'd probably be a good GM. Yes, he's got a good, eye for talent.
We'll be celebrating with him, I believe, in Canton in August when he goes into the Hall of Fame as a first ballot Hall of Famer in August. Yeah, and then he can decide what he wants to do after that.
How about this weekend? Speaking of Hall of Famers, Deion Sanders in Colorado faces the Sun Devils. It's crazy. The Sun Devils could have another 10-win season if they win out, beat Colorado and U of A, and then win their bowl game. That's 10 wins.
I got to tell you, Kenny Dillingham has earned every bit of his paycheck this year. And it's interesting. I don't know if we're going to get into the Sam Levitt stuff.
Yeah.
Because it's kind of one of those stories. It's a story, but is it a story? Because everybody, this is college sports nowadays. Basically from every second of every day of the entire calendar year, this is just the nature of the game right now. There are back channels and agents talking to things, and this is not the days where you go to a school and you're there for 4 years and then you go on after that. It just doesn't exist anymore. But the fact that this football team, you mentioned it, the Cardinals have dealt with a bunch of injuries, and it seems like on a week-to-week basis they invent new ways to lose football games. Yeah. They make them up. And the opposite of ASU, basically everybody that they brought to Big 12 Media Days, most of the Pat Tillman Leadership Council, is now lost for the year. Almost all of their key playmakers have been either missed significant time and then are out for the rest of the season. And to your point, they are still in the Big 12 title race. They should beat Colorado. That U of A game next Friday, going to be on Fox 10. Plug for the network here.
There you go.
That could be one of the biggest Territorial Cup games we have had. It could be a top 25 battle. 2 8-3 teams. 2 teams playing for one of the better bowl bids, maybe not the college football playoff, but
some extra motivation.
And the motivation, it's going to be huge.
It's going to be great. We got some people in the chat. Lionheart kind of agrees with you, Robby. Lionheart says that Murray will not be with the Cardinals.
Oh, there you
next
go.
Year.
Yep.
And speaking of quarterbacks, leaving, that's one of the hot stories this week. On 3 Sports kind of reported yesterday that Sam Levitt, his return to the program is doubtful, and that he's going to enter the transfer portal. I mean, the transfer portal is always going to be there.
Yeah.
I thought this was going to be Sam Levitt's last year because he was going to go to the NFL.
That's what I thought. So I think, we were talking earlier in the sports office that it's so hard to kind of obviously it's hard to predict. That's one hand of this. Right. It's impossible to predict because truthfully, I think if you ask Sam Levitt right now, I don't think he knows. He's still recovering from surgery. He's still around the team and stuff. He doesn't know what he's doing next year probably. He's not going to the NFL. We know that.
He doesn't need to know right now.
He doesn't
need to decide right now.
Exactly. And the nature of all of this, like I was alluding to earlier, is this is just a constant cycle of transfer and retaining your players and trying to recruit other players and NIL and revenue sharing. It's crazy nowadays. But I will say, no matter what happens, ASU fans should feel confident in not only Kenny, but Marcus Arroyo and his coaching staff, because what they have shown us in the last couple weeks is that Jeff Sims is a very capable backup. Sun Devil fans are lucky to have him.
Exactly.
But they've also shown that once they got Jeff Sims as the guy and Sam had the surgery, he was done for the year, they were able to pretty quickly pivot this offense into a Jeff Sims offense that catered to his skill set. Exactly. Yeah, and all of a sudden, Jeff Sims, I mean, you could make an argument that West Virginia game, I don't know if Sam Levitt puts up much different stats. I'm not saying Sam Levitt's worse than Jeff Sims, but the stats in the way that game played out, that was a very similar statistical and the way the offense operated. Like this, no matter what happens with Sam Levitt, they will get a quarterback in here, whether it's the transfer portal, one of these young guys coming in.
You want to come in and play here. And I think Jeff Sims is going to get some looks from the NFL. And
this is going to help his chances.
And it all depends, like you said, great job by the ASU coaching staff. And speaking of coaches, boy, Molly Miller, who left GCU to come to ASU, has hit the ground running. Everywhere she goes, she wins.
All she does is win.
She won at Drury, she won at GCU, and now at ASU. They're off to a 4-0 start. You went by there and talked to her earlier today. What's the vibe you're getting from the great start 4-0?
I mean, the vibes are high. 4-0 start, as you alluded to. All they do is win.
Yep.
They had a little bit of they won both games against USD, San Diego, and Santa Clara. The Santa Clara game got a little tight late, but Molly actually kind of alluded to that's not a bad thing,
right?
Because they had a big lead, blew the big lead, but then they ended up in a fourth quarter late game situation where they had to basically face adversity for the first time all season. We're going to learn a lot about this ASU women's basketball team this weekend, Saturday, with UNLV coming to town, because the Runnin' Rebels basically run through the Mountain West every year. Yep. They've won 20-plus games, I think 6 years in a row or something crazy. So this is going to be a really good non-conference test, to kind of litmus test of where ASU is at. But, yeah, Molly won her 300th career game this weekend, and you could we've talked about the Suns, a different vibe, and the kind of the consistency that ASU football has shown, and just the total change of vibe around the ASU women's basketball program. Charlie Turner-Thorne back in the fold.
Well, she brought her back in. That was her first great recruit, right? And you talked about we're going to learn a lot about this basketball program this weekend. Well, it's funny because there's so many new players, and she's new. She's learning a lot about her team, and she talked about learning about this team on a recent road trip. Listen to this.
Well, you learn a lot about your team on the way to the San Diego game. They had the music blaring, some were up dancing, they were giggling. I'm like, whew, I hope this team is locked in and focused. Like, I hope this is a good sign that they're loose and not too loose. But we came out and played really, really well. And so I'm like, okay, this is the character of the team. They like a little pump up before, they like to be loose, they like to laugh before the game. I've had some teams that it's dead silence on the bus, and we've had success there. I've had some teams where they're up and dancing, and we've had success there. So just learning the personality of your team has been really fun. And then, we went to, they took a little field trip to SeaWorld and had some fun and team bonding, and they're just laughing. There was a random breakout session after film of like a line dance. I'm like, this is fun to be around, and I'm just glad they like each other so much.
I'm waiting for the Fox 10 field trip to SeaWorld. That'd be fun.
I'll take a weekend in San Diego.
Yeah, that'd be nice. But yeah, it's pretty cool to see her kind of grow and work on her chemistry with the team as the team itself works on its chemistry.
Yeah, and I'm forgive me, I don't remember the exact stat last year, but the last season at GCU, they only lost like 2 games, right?
Yeah.
They were like 31-3 or something like that, and then almost beat Baylor in the tournament. So I don't think they're going to win 30 games in her first season at ASU once they get into the Big 12 schedule. No knock on Molly, but it's a different level. But yeah, no, you can definitely feel the good vibes over there. And the players she brought in from the transfer portal, they had a transfer come in from LSU, national champion, reigning national champ. So there is some talent on this women's basketball roster, the likes that ASU hasn't had the last couple of years.
And a lot like the Suns, these players, they care for each other, and she talked about that as well.
They're fun to be around. There's so many personalities. I really enjoy, even if you look on social media, they're rooting for each other. So a clip comes out and it's a highlight on McKenna Brackens. I've got everyone like reposting that and rooting for one another. So we all really are on the same page right now. And it's early, but if we can be on the same page right now, I can imagine what that builds into, and we're just going to get better. Like defensively, we're nowhere near my expectation at where we want to be, but they're really challenging one another in practice. We've got a great group of practice players. I probably don't tell my dream team thank you enough. I'm just on them all the time, but there's a really big connectivity with this group, and when you have that and you're not fighting those culture issues, then you can build something beautiful on the basketball court.
I like that. Well, we got Brandy's come up with a great idea here. She says San Diego field trip in the RV.
Hey, there you go. I don't think it'll make it that far. I think we'd probably crash out around Gila Bend.
It would be an adventure.
Hey, I want to know. Brandy also wanted to know.
What's up, Evan?
Brandy wanted to know what current quarterback would we like to see be a part of the Cardinals. I thought about this because you kind of, Baker Mayfield bounced around a little bit. Obviously, Indiana Jones this year. Daniel Jones going to the Colts and had a resurface there. I don't know if there is kind of a journeyman, quote unquote, that would. Do you have an idea here?
I got one. Yeah. You ready?
I'm ready.
Jacoby Brissett.
Oh, okay. All right.
You know, like, seriously, why not keep him? Because the way he's playing, it's a 1 year, $10 million deal. So I'd say bring him back, draft a young quarterback.
Yeah.
Kind of have Jacoby mentor this kid, bring him along slowly. That's what the Chiefs did with Patrick Mahomes.
Mm-hmm.
He sat behind Alex Smith the whole first year, comes in, lights the league on fire. Not to say that who they get's going to do that, but this is a quarterback-rich draft. You see Jacoby's playing well, giving you guys a chance to win. So, why not at least have him and then draft? I'd say draft the younger.
No, that's fair. That's fair. I think then that at least gives you, again, when it comes to what are you selling the fan base? It's
right.
Okay. Not that we're not trying to win a Super Bowl. Every team's going to say they are,
right.
But you're probably not going to the Super Bowl with this current roster and Jacoby Brissett if that's what they do. But then at least you're selling the hope of, but we have Fernando Mendoza or insert rookie quarterback here that's learning from Jacoby. And selfishly, if you're Monty Ossenfort and Jonathan Gannon, you're also probably thinking in the back of your mind, maybe we bought ourselves another year or two here.
Exactly. and like you mentioned Mendoza, the kid from Indiana, and I love his nickname. He's got the best name, Heisman Mendoza.
Is that what they're calling him now?
That's what they're calling him, Heisman Mendoza. That's awesome. How can you not root for a guy with that nickname, right?
We thought we were going to be saying that about Sam Levitt at the beginning of the year, and how the turntables have turned on all of us.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. And I think that kind of got to him a little bit, the pressure at the beginning of the year with that. And then just for the whole team, because they overachieved last year. Mm-hmm. There was no way we were expecting them to be in the Peach Bowl last year. Which seems like just yesterday, by the way.
You're telling me, man.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Every year just becomes more of a blur.
It really does.
That'll be, I think, the most interesting thing. Once the dust is settled on the season, no matter what happens, what bowl game, however it all shakes out, once we get close to spring ball, hopefully we'll get a chance to sit down again for a one-on-one with Coach Kenny. And I would love to ask him, because he's always so honest with his answers, what was the biggest thing he learned about himself and being a coach through this offseason leading into this year? Because I don't think they did anything wrong. They steered in correctly into the Heisman hype, and as much as they tried to downplay what happened last year, it was inevitable. The hype train was going to be rolling.
You might say it's easier to get to the top than stay at the top.
Exactly.
And this show's been like a blur, just like this season. Right, so we'll have much more next week. Thanks for watching, because you know us, we're going to keep talking. Have a good night, everybody.